Hello one and all, I'm Games, and welcome to a video in which I'll be showing off all the golden cards as well as talking about them as I go along. Obviously having them all would be really awkward, but I thought if I craft them all, that's a way of showing them, I suppose. So let's get on with it. So start with Forbidden Ancient. I think it's a really cool card, which, just like all the Forbidden cards, has a nice usability and flexibility to them. Try and make it as quick as possible. But maybe it's better if I just create them and go about it that way. So Mark Biashari, I'm not too much of a fan of it. I tried it out and I wasn't too keen on what I came up with. Adult Grizzly, on the other hand, quite a fan. Feral Rage, I've not made up my mind up on yet, but yeah, I suppose it's a nice card for doing as far as the armour department, more so I feel. Fandral Stalkelm, I think will look a lot cooler. Will have a lot of cool usability. It's not bad stated either for a full cost. And to be honest, perhaps the Amber Weaver I've seen a lot of, but I think it can be really good if you combine it with a Bronze beard, making it a 415 I believe. It's quite crazy. My key pops, summon a 2/2 slime will gain an empty mana crystal. Really cool card I feel. Especially for improving your mana growth in the early game. Which is what Druid kind of succeeds on. Another really cool card here, the Dark Orokoa, I don't know how you say that, but yes. And then we come on to Wisps of the Old Gods, which to be honest I'm not a fan of. Just because it seems like the other Wisps card, but slightly higher cost. I don't know, maybe the 2/2 might be useful, I'm not sure. But for me I don't think I'll see much play of it, so I won't play it much. Moving on to Hunter, I think there's a lot of good Hunter cards. Fiery Bat, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. I feel like this will take the place of Leponome quite a bit. It's definitely got a lot of versatility to it. On the hunt, probably one of my favourite Hunter cards has come from it. It's pretty simple in what it does, but I definitely would recommend trying it out. As you've seen, my cheap Hunter deck is quite uses quite a lot of these stuff. Carrion Grub, very underrated I feel, just because it's kind of a really neutral card, but I feel that it might see a lot more play as time goes on. I feel everyone's like Cthulhu crazy at the moment, which makes sense. Forlorn Stalker, I've not kind of checked out the Death Rattle side of Hunter yet, but I will be doing in a later deck video. Same can be said about Infest, which I feel adds a lot of what's the word? Value, I suppose, especially if you was to combine it with something, say, a Unleash Your Hounds, you could get a lot from that. And for a free cost, it's quite great. Infested Wolf is probably the MVP of the set for them, as far as minion goes, because it's just basically an improved Haunted Creeper now that Haunted Creeper's been took out of the mix, as it were. Then we have Princess Huruan, I believe that's how you say that, which is improves on that Death Rattle theme really. I've only used it slightly with the Tavern Brawl with web spinners, but it seems like it's pretty good. Stat wise, yeah, I suppose it's okay. I think 6/6 would have been like a really good stat value, but I can see why it would not be, just due to it, the effect being overpowered in some situations. Like if you was to put it on a Savannah High main. And then Call of the Wild, which is an absolute crazy card. Which, late game, it could absolutely just win the game then and there. To have 3 minions for the cost of 8. One of which has charge, one of which has taunt, one of which has a boost on all minions. That's crazy. And then we have, to finish it all off, Giant Sandworm, which is whenever this attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. Which, I don't know. I'm on the fence about this card at the minute, but who knows? For me, I feel like it's kind of King Crush scenario where it's not going to see the play just because of what class it's in. But I don't know. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Which brings us over to Mage. And the first of which is Forbidden Flame, which I'm quite a fan of, to be honest. Like I say, with all the Forbidden cards, I love the flexibility of them. And in Tempo Mage, it just improves them more so than they already were, I feel. I think Forbidden Flame will definitely see play. Just because it has the potential to do 10 damage. Or 1, you know, anywhere in between, really. As is to be expected from that kind of set.
Let's make magic.
Then you have Cult Sorcerer. Once again, I'm a real fan of that card. I feel that it's just great stats for what it is, as well as alongside that, the ability to gain spell damage on top of the ability to gain 1/1 every time a spell is cast on Cthulhu. I mean, that's amazing. Shatter, I think, adds a nice dimension to Freeze Mage. I don't know how much it'll impact them, but I feel I can see the appeal of using stuff like Frost Nova and such. This card will probably be the reason why you see Shatter being played, which is the Dimension Frost Caller, which after you cast a spell, freezes a random enemy. Now, for its mana cost, it's kind of lacking compared to Water Elemental, but I think time will tell. I think you might see it being played in more niche decks than anything else. Then we have Kabbalist's Tomb, which, as I said, is a massive value card, but I would only really recommend one in a deck, really. Which brings us on to Savant of Yogg-Saron. Cast a random spell that costs 5 or less. Obviously it doesn't, because it's used off Savant, it doesn't activate stuff like Flamewalker or stuff. It doesn't count as casting a spell, is what I was looking for to say. And then you have Face the Summoner, which for 6 cost is okay stat wise, due to the fact you get a free cost minion when it's summoned. Alongside Brand's Beard, you could see how it'd be amazing. And then to kind of finish off the Mage set, you've got Anomalous, which is deal 8 damage to all minions when it's destroyed. So you can see how that card, I don't think that card will see much play outside of kind of very late game decks, but maybe it'll counter Cthulhu in a way, I don't know. Brings us on to the set Paladin. You got Forbidden Healing, which once again I've seen a lot of play from Forbidden Healing, and I understand why as well. And you have Divine Strength, which gives a minion 1/2, which is great really when you think about the stuff it could be used with. Like an Argent Squire, make it into a 2/3, which is amazing early game. Selfless Hero, which gives a minion Divine Shield when it dies.
Except mice.
Like I say, it's all kind of links in with very strong, what am I looking for? Early game rush with Paladin. And yeah, probably one of the cards I'm actually really interested in trying out, which is Vile Fin Inquisitor. It's a Murloc, and its battle cry is when your hero power becomes summon a 1/1 Murloc. Outside of obviously a Murloc setting, it's useless really, because it just changes your squires into the same thing but Murlocs, which it'll have a lot less synergy outside of the Murloc side of things, but you know, for Murlocs that's great. Then you've got a Light in the Darkness, which is discover a minion, give it 1/1. I could see the application of that. I've seen a few people play it. Whether I'm convinced by it, I don't know if it would fit in most decks. I don't know if you'd have the room for it. As well as that, most of the time you'll be using Rush with Paladin, and it kind of like, it's a negative like tempo turn play, if you like, in the early game, and you're not really wanting to get to the late game. However, on the other side of things, Rallying Blade, amazing. Give 1/1 to your minions with Divine Shield, and it's a battle cry effect. It's a 3/2 weapon, so it's basically a upgraded fiery war axe for a warrior, really, isn't it? But potentially has amazing effects on the board.
Back to your homes.
Especially with something like Steward of Darkshire, which whenever you summon a 1 health minion, give it Divine Shield, which is pretty nice statted 3/3, as well as, like I say, getting that effect off of it. You could potentially play it on a turn and just get a crazy amount of minions with that Divine Shield in the late game. Stand Against Darkness. This would really cement the idea of having a Silverhand recruit deck, really, wouldn't it? To summon 5 Silverhand recruits for 5 cost. Outside of niche applications, like I've just talked about, I don't think you'll see much play out of it, just because, you know, it's very costly to do that. And now that the Quartermaster's been rotated out, I don't think you'll see it. However, on the other hand, the legendary Ragnar's Light Lord, at the end of your turn, restore 8 health to a damage friendly character. I can see a lot of application to this, and I've played it myself. I think it's amazing, really. But obviously, it's very much, it's like cementing the other side of Paladin, which is the very drawn out side of things, the late game plays, with stuff like Tyrion and stuff. You know, you've kind of got a lot more flexibility with Paladin from this set. Moving on to Priest. I haven't seen much from Priest I really enjoy. Forbidden Shaping is obviously something, like all Forbidden cards, has a lot of flexibility, and I think for all the Forbidden ones, you'll see most play outside of the Druid Ancient, because I think that's very conditional early on, as well as it having so many weaknesses. But the spells will definitely see a lot of play. Embrace the Shadow. Basically, it's a spell version of Akanai Soul Priest for the turn, rather than while Akanai's on the field. I feel that it's nice if you're going against Hunter, because a lot of the time you get locked down against Hunter where you played your Akanai, you can't get rid of it in time, so you've got your negative effects out, and then you've not been able to heal from that point onwards, and they've kind of blocked you in from doing that. So I can see how it'd have application there. Outside of that, I don't know, because Akanai is just such a nice card to begin with, stat-wise, and what it does. So like I say, outside of that, outside of the heavy Hunter meta, I can't see it seeing much play. Hooded Acolyte, whenever a character is healed, give you a Cthulhu 1/1. This is really good. It's a 4-cost 3/6. Definitely good for its stats. You can make reference to Water Elemental there, really. And the amount of healing you're likely to do, you can obviously see where it would where it would be used. Shadow Word Horror. I was expecting to see a lot more out of this, and maybe that's why we're seeing a lot less rush from the Mitov, because of that card. But so far from Priest, I haven't really seen anyone come up with a really strong Priest deck, or even much Priest play at all, so I'm interested by that. We move on to Shifting Shade. copy a card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. For 4-3, I think it can be really good, to be honest. It's pretty good statted. You know, obviously it lacks a bit on the health side of things, but you do get a nice value card out of it, so something to keep in mind. Then we have a 5 cost 4/5, which is restore 5 health by battle cry. This is pretty cool, I feel, but I don't know how likely it is you're going to need that by turn 5. I suppose it's very dependent on what kind of clash you're playing against, but I feel more often than not you'll be playing it and not getting the benefit of the battle cry, but maybe that's just me. And then we have powered tentacles, give a minion 2/6. Now I think for 5 cost that's a bit too much. You know, I feel that it's too easily silenced. You know, I feel that it's kind of not going to see much use in the current format. And then we have Twilight Darkmender, which is if your cocoon has at least 10 attack, restore 10 health to your hero. Which this card I can see a lot of use for, even though it's like the same mana cost. In the later game, this is obviously going to have a lot more impact on the game compared to the Darkshire Alchemist. But I would probably only use, I'd probably only use one, in my opinion, but maybe you would differ. And then the legendary Herald Velazigi, maybe? Don't ask. Battlecry, summon a 1/1 copy of each of your other minions. I think this could be a really cool card. I'd probably like to try this with the Blood of the Ancient one. See how that would work out. That'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? But obviously there's definitely some cool uses there. I feel they're a lot more niche than anything else though. I doubt you'll see it outside of like niche decks. Moving on to Rogue. We've got a lot to go here.
You're not that
Bladed Cultist. Combo game 1/1. As you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. I've seen a lot more from Rogue, which is early game from this set, I feel. Discover a Death Rattle card. The only chance I've had to play this was as a mage. When I stole it in some way. I can't remember how it happened, but I ended up with one. But I did. Then you've got Undercity Huckster, which I've seen a lot of play from, and I totally understand it. Then we have Shadow Strike for 3 cost, deal 5 damage to undamaged character. Really strong. It's kind of the nearest comparison you could make would be to Fireball, except it's obviously I mean it says character, so I imagine you could do it on the hero. Obviously if it's undamaged. So, but obviously you're more likely to use it on a minion. Then they have a new pirate called South Sea Squidface. Death Rattle will give you a weapon 2 attack. Obviously this is going to have it's good statted 4/4 for 4, as well as you're probably going to have a weapon at all points of the game, well at least most of them, due to the fact that you're rogue. So obviously it's going to have a big play. I feel like it's going to be played a lot, even.
So many wonderful
Exact's Real Poison Mind. Battlecry and Death Rattle add a random toxin card to your hand. To be honest, I haven't had a chance to really check out the toxin cards, but I feel that for its stats it will probably get played. But how useful it will be, I'm not sure. Choose a friendly minion, add 1/1 copy to your hand that costs 1. So that's another way you could use Blood of the Ancient one, I suppose. I really want to try some Blood of the Ancient one decks, to be honest. Shadowcaster. But obviously for its stats it's not very good. and you'd have to use this as late game when you've got a really strong effect based character on the board. I should say minion. And then we have Thistle Tea, draw a card, add 2 extra copies of it to your hand. So it's basically, for 6 cost, it's probably too much to see play, but it's kind of a more versatile version of what is it? Group. What is it? Add 3 characters to your hand of 1 on the field. You put it into your deck. That one, I can't think what it's called. It's group or something like that. Then we have Blade of Cthulhu. Destroy a minion. Add its attack and health to Cthulhu's wherever it is. This is a 9 cost. 4/4 statted. To be honest, I feel that it's got too weak of stats to see play, really, even if it does destroy a minion. Especially when you're on a point of the game where you're looking to... You're kind of trying to gain a board while the opponent hasn't. So it's very conditional. Moving on to Shaman, we have Evolve. Transform your minions into a random minions that cost 1 more. Obviously this can be really good, especially because you're likely to have a lot of totems out. It just gives them kind of a utility in the game. I think this card will definitely see play. Moving on to another totem based card, Primal Fusion. Give a minion 1/1 for each of your totems. For 1 cost, I think it will definitely see play, especially used on an actual totem rather than other minions. It's basically, there's a lot more stuff to kind of give the totems use. Then we have a 2 cost 3/2, unlock your unloaded mana crystals. This is amazing, especially for its stats and cost. I can't see why it wouldn't be played alongside Earthshot rather than instead of, I feel, as well. It just gives Shaman players more incentive to use Overload-based cards. Talking of Overload, we have Stormcrack, deal 4 damage to a minion, Overload 1. That's great, to be honest, but I feel that Lightning Bolt probably pips the post as a card to use instead. Moving on, for 4 cost, 7/7 Overload 2. Obviously this is like a weaker costs of the 7/8, is it Earth Elemental? I feel that you could probably get away with using both, to be honest, especially with the amount of Overload based kind of preventers. I would like to see that happen actually. I might make an Overload deck like that. But it's definitely a strong card, what we'll see play. Another application for Blood of the Ancient One is Mastery Evolution. Transform a friendly minion into a... Oh no, it's not. It's just a card which kind of enforces that transform on totems potentially. You can't really use it on Blood of the Ancient One because it doesn't make a copy of it. I don't know, I keep seeing that, I'm thinking of that as the application we can. Then we have Haziel the Ascended. Whenever your spells deal damage, restore that much health to your hero for 4/6. For 5 costs, I think that's pretty fair. You don't see much healing out of Shaman, so I feel that it's probably going to see play because of that. It's kind of coming a bit like left field, really. I didn't imagine that Shaman would get a heal card like that. So that's quite interesting. Make them more flexible. Then we have another weapon for them, which is Hammer of Twilight. It's 5 cost for 4/2. Summon a 4/2 elemental as a death rattle. To be honest, I think it'll probably see play. Probably is only 1 rather than 2 though. And then we come on to Thing from Below, which I've seen an amazing amount of play from, which is Taunt. Game cost 1 less for each totem you've summoned this game, so you can probably get it out very cheap most of the time. Which is really good as a momentum push. We move on to Warlock. Forbidden Ritual. Let's create it. Once again, spend all your mana, summon that many 1/1 tentacles. An amazing card in terms of how much momentum you can get off that, especially as a Warlock. As usual with all Forbidden spells, I imagine that it will get a lot of play. Then we have Possessed Villager. Summon a 1/1 Shadow Beast. This is its Death Rattle. It's basically like saying it's a 2/2 for 1 cost. I bet it will see play. Then we have Battle Cry. Discard a random card. Death Rattle, draw a card. So you can see kind of it's kind of like the Aspirant for Druid. I can't think of its it's Dark Spire, I think, something like that. Something like that. Anyway, Darkshire Aspirant, maybe something like that. I can't remember. But you can see it's how you would use it. For 2 costs, it's definitely going to get play, I think, and it has more discard synergy with the deck. Now, I've only seen this played once so far, and obviously it's been out about a week. The expansion, Renounced Darkness. Replace your hero power and warlock cards with another classes. Cards cost 1 less. I suppose that's quite interesting if you wanted to play warlock, but just wanted to be unsure what you was going to get, as a nice fun random element to the game. Then we have Darkshire Councilman. After you summon a minion, gain 1 attack. Amazing card for Rush, and it took me out quite a bit in some games. Definitely a card you want to look at eliminating as soon as it's on the board. Deal 9 damage, randomly split among all characters. This is Spreading Madness for 3 cost. It's kind of like what's that 6 cost for Paladin? But it's like that, where it deals 8 damage, but this is like a crazy version of that. Except obviously the downside is it could hit your own minions. I could see it getting play, especially if you got an empty board. Obviously it's more likely to hit the opponent's characters. Even, yeah, I mean, you don't mind taking damage yourself as a hero. It's kind of expected as a warlock. Moving on, we have Usher of Souls, which is a 5 cost with the stats of 5/6. Whenever a friendly minion dies, give you Cthulhu 1/1. This is a great addition. However, I haven't seen Cthulhu really having any play in Warlock. I suppose it's got better applications in other classes. That's probably why. Then the legendary from the set, Cho'Gall. He's a 7 cost for 7/7. The next, as a battle cry, as the next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. I can't see it getting play, to be honest, myself. Just because the likelihood is you're not really wanting to, at that late game, wanting to lose health. But maybe it will have some sort of interesting use, which I've not thought of. Then we have for 10 cost Doom, destroy all minions, draw a card for each. So it's kind of like an upgraded Twisted Nether, with the improvement of yet to draw cards. But I don't know, you draw a lot anyway. Twisted Nether doesn't get a lot of play. You tend to see your deck maybe use 1. So I don't know how much play Doom will get. But maybe with how sticky Cthulhu can get, we'll see a lot more of that usage. Moving on to Warrior. We have Blood to Ichor. Deal 1 damage to a minion. If it survives, summon a 2/2 slime. For 1 cost, I definitely think it will see use, especially because it can aggro them enrage mechanics. Warrior so what's the word I'm looking for? Constantly use, I suppose, works. So and to get a 2/2 out of that is great. Moving on, we have a pirate card for Warlock, which is N'Zoth's first mate. Battlecry, equip a 1/3 Rusty Hook. I feel like this is counterintuitive to the idea you're probably going to be playing Fiery War Axes. And for the stats of 1/1, I don't know, for Pirate. Maybe you'd use it as a niche Pirate deck, who knows. But I feel it'll probably have a lot of, it won't coexist with a Fiery War Axe in the early game, so I don't know. Then we have for free cost Blood Warriors, add a copy of each damaged friendly minion to your hand. This is especially useful in the late game, especially if you was to use it on a Grommash. That could be quite a crazy application of it. We're using application too much. Yeah, I feel like I'm turning into an Apple consultant. Then we have for free cost Bloodsail Cultist. Battlecry, if you control a pirate, give your weapon 1/1. It's free cost for pre-4, which is quite good statted. In fact, it's very good statted. Then again, a lot of stuff from this expansion has had free 4 as its base stats for a free cost. Definitely with pirates, I can see how it would get a lot of play if you was to use a Bloodsail Raider in the deck rather than N'Zoth, maybe. I don't know. But definitely worth playing, I feel. Then we have Ravaging Ghoul. It's basically a free cost, free with the Battlecry of Whirlwind, basically. Obviously, this is a great activator for Enrage mechanics, as mentioned before, as well as it kind of being a 2-in-1, as it being a minion and having the Whirlwind mechanic built in. Then we have, for 4 cost, Bloodhoof Brave, Taunt, and Enrage plus 3 attack. This is a 2/6 for 4. With Enrage, if you was to do it for 1 and you ended up with a 5/5, it would be above curve, really. But outside of that, I mean, it's quite a nice minion in terms of being hard to take out with one card at full cost. It can be done with stuff like Fireball. Moving on, we have Tentacles for Arms, which is a 5 cost 2/2 weapon with return this to your hand for a death rattle. Obviously it's very sticky and unlikely to be able to tuck off the board very easily. And I've actually ended up crafting it, so that's in my set now. Didn't know I wanted a Tentacle for Arms, but I've got one now. Then we have Ancient Shield Bearer, Battlecry, whose Buffoon has at least 10 attack, gain 10 armor. Pretty good for the cost, really. I wasn't paying attention, I've ended up with a Tentacle for Arms. I don't even think I like it that much. So I've ended up with one. And then we have Malkorok. Battlecry, equip a random weapon. It's a 7 cost 6/5. Yeah, it's pretty strong statted, really. It could be, you know, it's for 7 costs, it's a bit of an awkward one, but you could definitely get a lot of value from the weapon equip. I feel it will see some play, but overall probably not a lot. That rounds up the first part, just because it's going to be a really lengthy video. Next week I will show off all the neutrals. So yes, thank you for watching part 1, and I hope you stay tuned for part 2. Goodbye.